Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to film a review about one of the more affordable pen options from Platinum. Platinum is a Japanese pen brand, very well known for things like the Preppy at the lower end, but a pen I think gets overlooked a little bit is this. This is the Plaisir. Now it's a very well known pen, but I think because of its relation to the Preppy, it does get overlooked. This particular version is from the 10th anniversary edition of the Plaisir that they came out with these three ombre colors. This is the night blue, so it goes from this beautiful rich dark blue through to black with a chrome trim. The Plaisir comes in a range of different colors and, the different price points within that, everything from sort of like around the $17 mark to these ones which are around the $40 mark because of the anniversary edition, sort of a limited edition, still available. It's for a couple of years old, so still around. So I'm going to talk about the parts and features of this pen. I'm going to show it in comparison to the Preppy a little bit, then writing samples, pros and cons, all those usual things that we do in these reviews. So let's start at the top. So it's a simple dome finish, dome cap that kind of swells a little bit to this very large band that has Platinum Japan written on it. The finish starts and ends in the the dark blue, and then goes to the black, and that continues along the barrel of the pen, which is sort of tapers very slowly and then a little bit more fast to this sort of domed end again. It snaps to cap and then reveals a section that we are quite familiar with. If we look at the Platinum Preppy here, you can see that it's the same section and the same nib as is on the Platinum Preppy, as well as things like the Meteor as well, which is sort of like another pen in this sort of price point. The Platinum Plaisir is a cartridge converter pen. It comes with a cartridge. This is just a plain platinum black cartridge that I've put in there. This one has like an aluminium body. It's very lightweight aluminium, and then plastic threads and plastic section, of course, and then the steel nib. This is this is the 03, which is quite fine, and good solid snap. It's an okay pen. I think, as I said, this sort of gets overlooked because of its relation to the Preppy. It's kind of like just a more grown-up Preppy, if you will. Slightly higher quality body with some sort of interesting design features, and of course it comes in a range of like physical body colors as well. So the Platinum Plaisir also has that cap seal, which you can sort of see down in there. That Platinum is quite well known for, which is supposed to keep the nib wet for around a year. I've never tested that out on the Plaisir, but I have tested it on the Preppy, and I can say it works. Like I've had Preppies inked for over a year, and I just go and like without opening them up, and then I open it up, wrote with it, and it started first time every time. And that's kind of the same with the Plaisir in general. This particular one I'm going to talk about when I do the writing sample and the pros and cons, but there is some issues with this particular pen. As I said, the pen is a cartridge converter. It doesn't come with the converter. They are proprietary to Platinum, but I think at the price point that this pen is pitched at, I think it's in that crossover area where it could come with a converter, but the Platinum converters are actually not super cheap in their own right. So to get one of those does add a little bit of expense to the pen. Size comparison now with the Lamy Safari, you see it's a pretty similar kind of size. The Plaisir is definitely an entry-level pen, and I think it holds up well in terms of the size for smaller hands, but also for bigger hands, because it's not a small pen. Uncapped, it's just slightly smaller than the Lamy Safari, as you can see, but it's got a good size in the hand, and particularly because of that slightly larger diameter section, it doesn't feel small. And then posed that it comes up pretty well alongside the Lamy Safari. As I said, it's not a super small pen. It's actually quite a comfortable pen in the hand, and I think it sort of holds up alongside the Lamy Safari in that respect. Dimensions for the Platinum Plaisir are capped, it's 143 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 121, which is an okay size. It's comfortable in the hand. It's got a nice section around the 10 millimeter mark there. And then Posted, it's 156, which is a very good size and sort of comfortable enough in the hand. This sort of step down off the cap band there, it's fairly smooth, and the step down off the barrel is okay, so it doesn't really matter where you hold it. It's not sort of uncomfortable, and the balance is okay. The pen weighs 18 grams complete, and 10 of that is in the body and 8 in the cap. So because it posts relatively deeply and sits sort of nicely in the hand and it's fairly lightweight anyway, you don't feel the balance goes out too much. Let's do a writing sample now with the Platinum at Plaisir. This is a 03 steel nib. The ink is platinum black cartridge. Just one of those ones you buy in the little plastic baggie of 2 cartridges, 2 or 3, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same ink that comes with the Plaisir when you buy it in that cartridge. Let's do some writing. So one thing you may have noticed at the very top of the writing sample was that there was a hard start up here. Now the cap hadn't been off the pen for terribly long, maybe a minute or so, filming the the dimensions of the pen. So this is one of those things I have noticed a little bit with this pen, is that sometimes there are occasional hard starts. Generally speaking, it kind of keeps up. That's not meant to be legible, by the way. That's just meant to be fast. But it does tend to sort of like dry out a little bit. It's not the wettest pen I've used. Like, it's not dry. It's just not got great flow, which is kind of an okay thing if you're writing on everyday paper. You know, if you are wanting to write with this pen on standard office paper, for instance, that may actually be an advantage. But for me, it's just a little bit on the sort of the dry side. It's smooth enough, like it's quite smooth. These, if you've written with the Preppies, you know, the Plaisir, the Prefonte, the Meteor, things like that, you'll know that these nibs are actually quite smooth. Just not the wettest sort of going around. Reverse is possible. A little bit scratchy, a little bit dry, but that's not too bad. And it's a stiff nib, so it does not flex. So don't even bother trying. It's not designed for that. So yeah, I think the issue I have with this nib is just a little bit of inconsistency with some like ink starvation and some like slight hard starts occasionally. So what are the pros and cons of the Platinum Plaisir fountain pen? Well, let's start with the cons. It's a very lightweight pen. It's aluminium, but it feels kind of I wouldn't say it feels cheap. It just feels like a little insubstantial. When you use something like the Preppy, which is super light, super, plasticky, you know what you're using. You are buying a pen that is, at $5, that kind of price, American, dollars, and it, like some people consider this a disposable pen. I tend to reuse them until they wear through, or just like the cracking and things like that can sometimes happen. But you're getting what you get. Here you're buying a pen that, like particularly in this limited edition version, is considerably more expensive, and still doesn't quite match up in terms of the feel in the hand. The balance of the pen is okay. But I think if you're writing, I think the further you hold down the grip, the worse that balance posted feels. And then the other issue, of course, is the ink starvation. It's never stopped. It just kind of dries out and the ink flow slows down for a little bit. Sometimes you need to give it a second just to reboot, if you will. That can be sometimes because of using cartridges as opposed to a converter. But when a pen is provided primarily as a cartridge pen, it's provided with a cartridge, it should write well with that cartridge. Now let's talk about the price here between the pros and cons, because it sort of balances this out. So in Australia, this particular version retails for $52. The standard versions for between 20 and 25. Now the US prices are around the 40 to 45 for this version, the limited edition version, or around the 17 to 20 for the standard versions. So it's roughly kind of like 4 times the price of a Platinum Preppy. And so the question is is it worth it for that jump up? Well, if you're interested in the design, the body, the colors, like particularly this version, which is a little bit more expensive again, you're going for, like, I liked this one because it was the ombre finish. I think it looked kind of cool. So that might be something you get this for. And the finish for me is a definite pro on this pen. It's this sort of like semi-gloss, I suppose textured finish. It's nice. It's sort of matte, but it's not super matte. I don't know how to describe it. It's not shimmery, but like you can see the texture, you can see the colors. I think it's nice. I think the nib is very smooth, and if you could get it writing nice and wet, like if you decided to use a converter with this and you put a particularly wet ink in this, like if you wanted a black like Aurora Black, which is quite wet, then I think you'd probably end up with a pen that writes really, really well. I think the fact that there are different versions of this, different price points, I think that's a big pro. It is a step up from the Preppy. Like, it is definitely a big step up from the Preppy. And I think if you were wanting to make that step up without moving into something a bit more expensive, like, you know, a Lamy Safari or, you know, sort of the higher models of the Platinum pens, this might be an interesting option as a sort of a, you know, have in your handbag, particularly if that if that seal does keep everything sort of going for, you know, a year. Be a good pen to have in your bag when you need it, or in your desk drawer or something like that. For me, I think it's a pen that I wouldn't necessarily want, wouldn't go out of my way to have in my collection. I think it's nice, and I think there's lots of nice things about it. But in terms of what you get, I'm happy with the Preppies. I'm happy with the Prefonte. I think that's a step up from the Preppy again. But I think, you know, I think there are, at this price point, I think there are more interesting pens and pens that give it a little bit more variety than this sort of big brother to the Preppy. So this was the Platinum Plaisir in the ombre finish in the night blue. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce, and please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can contact me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support this channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.